And welcome to the big show, guys. Tonight I have back Katie Ketter, and it looks like she has her co-host and sidekick, Archer. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Archie Bunker for a minute. My bad, guys. What's up, Archer? How you doing tonight, bud?
Good.
All right, rock on. So you're going to join us for a little bit tonight. Your mom and I are going to speak about hauntings, ghosts, and I guess things that go knock in the night. Right? Oh, gotcha. So what we did is before you leave us tonight, Archer, since your mom's a returning guest, we do a thing called the Gauntlet of Five. So before you go tonight, we got another version, especially for you. We're gonna run you through 5 questions, and all you have to do is answer yes or no. So we'll do that in a little bit. But with that said, fans, if you don't know, Katie is on the show. We had a 2-parter with her before. We talked about religion, New Age spirituality. We touched on 5G a little bit. We touched on, I think, solar panels and solar power a little bit. We had a great time. And if you have not seen those, go ahead and check those 2 out. And you're going to really like tonight because I guess we're going to get a little spooky with it. You know what I'm saying?
Spooky is very good.
That's right.
I love spooky.
That's right.
We're heading to, Labor Day. Past Labor Day kind of is the unofficial beginning of fall, even though it can be summer forever and ever for me.
Sure.
But, it's a fun time of year. The moon changes. We just got done with a super new moon, and that always brings in some cool energy. And this is the time of year that I think everybody starts to kind of get their heightened senses up and starts to feel some stuff, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. But it's a fun time of year.
It is. I love the weather of summer, but I just love the fall for everything that it brings. The cool breezes, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. I mean, it's just great. We have 3 of the best holidays, boom, 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 all at the end of the year. So with that said, we're going to kind of focus on tonight a little bit about what Katie experienced while you were a part of a paranormal group up in Northern Illinois. Is that correct?
I was, yeah. So I worked with a paranormal investigation group in Northern Illinois, and we were all not, professionals. It was simply hobby-based, but had a really interesting, good time. Had some interesting stories, and I was part of the group for some abilities that I have. And so we can just kind of talk a little bit about that and one of my favorite investigations that I did with them.
Okay, great. Yeah, you can share that with us here in just a little bit. How about you, Archer? Do you like this time of year, bud?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like Halloween?
I love Halloween. It's my second favorite holiday.
Well, what's your first?
Christmas.
Christmas. What was that for the gifts?
Yeah.
No, okay, I can't lie. Me too. I love giving and I love receiving too. So giving is a good thing and receiving. So yeah, it's always fun. Birthdays, Christmas. But as you can tell, Thanksgiving, that's one of my favorites too. I love to eat. So give me a turkey leg any day over a present. But hey, with that said, have you ever experienced anything, Archer? Have you ever felt like you've seen a ghost? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell me about it.
So once I was up in my bed.
Okay.
And I looked down and I thought I saw something. So I looked back up and closed my eyes for a little bit. But when I looked, but then I looked back down to see if I could still see something, and I thought I could see like some sort of like face.
Oh my gosh. Now, has that happened more than once, or?
Uh-huh.
Oh, man. All right.
I don't know.
I was like, we might need to get you up there one night, Mom.
Yeah, maybe.
Need to check that out. All right. All right. So also with that said, before me and your mom get deep into this, are you ready to answer those 5 questions and run the gauntlet?
All right. Keep your hands down. You ready to run the gauntlet?
You ready? All right. Here we go. I got them wrote down here. So do you believe that ghosts are real?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you believe there's a Bigfoot?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you believe that there are such things as aliens?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that there is a Slender Man?
No.
Okay. And the last one right here. This is the easy one, but see, I always believed it as a kid, and I would wear myself out, and I never found anything. But do you believe in the story that they say that if you can find the end of a rainbow, that there will be a leprechaun with a pot of gold there?
No.
Oh, okay. So there you go, folks. We had Archer run the gauntlet done specifically for him. He did a good job.
Good gauntlet.
Yeah, real good. Believes in ghosts and aliens. He tells Bigfoot to take a hike, and Slender Man, you're just a urban legend. So there we have it from the mind of Archer.
You know what he does believe in that we just started playing with, though?
What? Ouija board.
Ouija board.
Oh,
Love Ouija board.
yeah. Oof.
Ouija boards are amazing.
They scare me, man. But yeah, I've had some crazy experiences when I was younger with the Ouija board. It's wild. It's crazy.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. What's the rule, though? Do you remember the rule that I told you? You don't
talk to someone that you don't want to talk to.
Right. You don't talk to somebody that you don't want to talk to.
There you go. That's smart.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Good job. Love you.
All right, it was nice having you on, Arch. Be good, buddy.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Co-host. He's out for the night.
All right. Take your place, buddy.
Bye. Oh, gotta get my plate.
We were eating pizza.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Goodbye. Come on.
I'll hopefully be back someday.
That's right. I was like, folks, right there. There's the future of podcasts. He's already answering the gauntlet of 5. He's working on the Ouija board. I mean,
He's oh my God, that's like his dream is to have. It's his dream is to be a YouTuber broadcaster.
Yeah. Well, he can do it, man. It's easy. Just start doing it with a phone. Start a channel and just do it with your phone starting out. He could tell stories from his room. Ghosts, seeing faces under his bed. Mom, you better get on that.
I had no idea. So there's that.
All right. So something for you to look into. All right. So let's jump down this rabbit hole, folks. Katie, tell us all about Northern Illinois, and I want the good stuff.
So the best investigation that I ever did, and my rule with investigations was I don't want to know where I'm going. I don't want to know anything about why we're going. I don't give me an address or I will follow my other teammates in the car. Like, I don't want to know anything because I don't want to ever be influenced by anything. And if I don't feel anything, if I don't see anything, then that's just what it is. Like, I don't want to put any impressions on anything. So we actually ended up going to a very rural police station.
Okay.
And the only thing that I knew going into this investigation was that we were going to some sort of volunteer or some sort of emergency management place. I didn't know that we were going to a police station. Mm-hmm. And on the way there, the only thing that kept pinging me was there's something with a locker room. I didn't know if there was a locker room. I didn't know if there was a bathroom. I didn't know anything. So I get into the parking lot. I meet with my team, and a police officer who was there that had agreed to show us around met with me. And all I said to him was, do you have a locker room? Because that's where I need to go. And he just flushed out white and goes, yes. And I told him, I said, please don't tell me anything. I don't want to know anything about what's going on. If you could just take me there, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. So walked in there. They gave me access to the men's and the women's locker room. The women's locker room did not have the same feeling the men's did. The men's was very like heavy, very playful, very trickery, like very specific points amongst like the vanity mirrors and the sinks. And then there was a couple very specific lockers that I pointed out to them. And later that night, I found that the police officers that worked in there would have like lockers fly open. They would see lots of images in the mirrors. Their faucets would turn on and off. Lots and lots of activity in the locker room. There was lots of activity in a specific corridor that I went down that I pinpoint, and it was like very specific parts in the corridor that I was able to call out. This was a very, like I said, it was a pretty rural police station, but they actually had like a couple holding cells that they had like a lot of issues with. And I was able to call out the specific holding cell that apparently like freaked out a lot of drunks and a lot of the officers that were there. So that was probably my favorite investigation, just because of the specifics with like how heavy and how particular the energy was in those particular areas of the police station.
Was it built on any sacred ground or a cemetery from the past? I mean, was there
not that I know of, not that they were really aware of. I will say that there were a lot of like heavy, big power lines in the area. Mm-hmm. Not that that makes any difference to me, but I don't know that it had any sort of particular like spiritual grounds that it was near or by, but it was northern rural Illinois. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for a lot of people like you and I know this, but for a lot of people that don't know, I mean, that was a lot of tribal land. Yeah. A lot of Illinois, especially rural northern Illinois, is all, rural tribal land still. So who knows? It wouldn't surprise me if it was.
Well, and not only that, with the areas up there, is a lot of people fail to realize historically that the lakes there were traversed by the Vikings and the Norwegians, and
yeah, they were.
They came here long before Columbus did and intermingled with, we don't know, the natives that were here. Mm-hmm. There's also talk of the Snake Mounds in Ohio. And there's various things in Indiana as well. And those are all right there connecting, right around the Great Lakes. And I mean, Snake Mounds speak of, giants and the natives speaking of that and things of that sort. So yeah, and that compiled, you made a good point though with the energy, with having the big power. Mm-hmm. The deals, sometimes words slip my mind, but that will draw energy.
Sure. Sure.
It'll, from the, if you're a believer, especially, and if you study like I know I do and you do, that will only help to draw things. The more frequency and energy that's fed into a frequency, it can create a gateway or a portal or help to thin that veil.
Sure. Yeah.
So, okay. Now I was just curious because sometimes like that, they will build places like the place it was just in the Tampa Bay newspaper 2 days ago. They found that an apartment complex was built on top.
Yes.
Did you see that?
Yes. It was like 120 graves.
Yeah. So and people were like, well, yeah, there's been all kinds of activity here. Well, hello. Yeah. You're sitting on their final resting spot. Yeah. So how much of that has gone on over the thousands of years? We don't know.
Well, and the town that I grew up in, one of the big elementary schools in the area was built over a grave cemetery. and I mean, people that went to that school and people that worked in that school said for years and years and years that it is super, super haunted.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, yeah, it's built over a cemetery. What do you expect?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
when you were with that group, and because I know your beliefs and your spirituality. Okay, that's horrible. Sorry. Oh, a message popped up. I'm sorry.
oh, it's fine.
I didn't mean it. Knowing, just knowing you and knowing your beliefs and your spirituality, have you ever come across anything? Because I know you like keeping the negative out of your life, but have you ever come across anything that you felt, okay, this is a little evil?
Yeah. The one time, and I think that this experience is actually why I don't ever invite or acknowledge anything like that. So I grew up in a town called Elgin, Illinois, which is famous for Elgin watches. And older town, I think they were established in the early 1800s, but lots of property from the mid to late 1800s still stands. A lot of homes from that time are still there. There's homes that have a lot of connections to like the Underground Railroad and stuff like that. So really, really cool historical stuff in this town. And a very dear friend of mine bought a house on the west side of town and had moved in a few weeks earlier, and he was walking me around his house. And his house was well over 100 years old, probably 120, 130 years old. And we're walking around, it's really cool. And then he walks me into the basement. And I was like, oh, wow, this is old basement. And it had like the coal chute and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, what's this door? And he's like, I don't know, it's just kind of a room. And it was like a packed dirt room. And I opened the door, and it was like a sledgehammer and an avalanche hit me all at the same time.
Wow, okay.
And it shook me so severely that I ran up the stairs and had a panic attack.
Okay.
So there's definitely I wouldn't go into that. I knew him for years after that, wouldn't step foot in his basement. And I don't know that it was necessarily evil.
Sure.
But there was definitely something in that room, something that I came in contact with that either did not want to talk to me, did not want to be exposed, did not want to like feel the light of day, or that was just pent up in there and needed the right person to release it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but scared the hell out of me.
I bet.
Scared the hell out of me.
Unless someone has ever physically felt that, they'll be like, oh, okay. But I'm telling you, there is no freakier feeling in this world than when something from the other side physically is able to touch, push, or deal with you in any way on your body, because it's a feeling that you're like, okay, that happened. I'm not crazy, and it did not feel good.
No,
right.
It doesn't. It's almost violating.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, it still weirds me out. And this was 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very, and I think because like you can't equate it to anything else that you've encountered before. Mm-hmm. And there's no other like senses. You can't smell it, you can't hear it, or sometimes you can, but it's not like another physical form that you can like brace yourself for. So it's very, very, very unusual. And you're right. I think this is one of the reasons that people don't want to acknowledge that something has happened to them, because everybody's afraid to say like, you're crazy.
I was just getting ready to go there with you. That's why I think so many accounts, people just keep to themselves. And it can be, and I'm going to tell you, it can be from paranormal to alien abduction to, anything under the scope of fringe or paranormal.
Yeah.
And here's what happens is, and Gary Housley, that guy we had on the show, is a prime example. He has been attached and attacked. He tried going to the authorities. He tried going to the church. He tried going to doctors. And now he is permanently labeled crazy. They just want to keep pumping him full of medication. Now, I'm talking about, this is a man that just 2 years ago was interviewing legendary rock stars. Okay. I've seen the videos, and I've known the guy, and he is a shell of him for his former self. Now, I believe him, and I pray for him, and I try to do what I can to help guide him. But everyday people and the police and everyone like that, like, for example, if what happened to you, if you would have said, I've got to go report this, they would have been like, yeah, we're going to have to take you to the doctor. And you're in a straitjacket and they're shooting you in the butt. And they're saying, were you ever, taking LSD, or have you done this or that, or were you abused? Then they start, it becomes something that happened in your past is why you're seeing this now. So but also at the same time, it's coming out in full force right now. There's kind of a paranormal movement, and people are coming out more openly now, because what are they going to do? Lock us all up, call us all crazy? I mean, so yeah, I understand it, because I held a lot of things in for over 20 years. And then when I do let it out, even to my inner circle, I still get that, come on, man.
I know.
But then I get the few that are like, okay, I understand, because guess what? It happened to me, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
So that's it's wild. So with that said, folks, we need to take a real brief intermission. Just give us about 30 seconds, and we'll be right back with you. And welcome back, folks. Sorry for that. We had to fix a couple of things. But with that over with and moving forward, Katie, take it away.
I thought it might be fun to talk a little bit about premonitions, because they run so heavily in my family. Okay. And it's something, we've always kind of talked about and dismissed. And I think everybody has like somebody that's older in their family that, had, a little buzz or a little sixth sense or something like that. And they always kind of dismissed it. And one of the things that my grandmother was very open about within her family was her premonitions. And ever since she was a small child, and it's odd that it started so young, but she would have a dream that she was pregnant and in labor, and either the baby would die during birth or she would die during birth. And within 48 hours of her having this dream, someone she knew died. Okay. And it had been like that 70 some odd years. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because as she got older, she would actually journal it for accountability purposes, because again, everybody's always afraid to say stuff like this happens, and then everybody thinks that they're a liar. And my grandma was really cool about like, nope, this is what happens. And when I was, she actually moved in with our family when I was about 12 years old. And it's interesting because some mornings she'd get up and had a dream last night. And then everybody went on like high alert, it's like, oh God, something's gonna happen. And it was without fail that somebody would die. And my mom doesn't necessarily have the premonition dreams. I think she has a very intuitive state. I have a lot of premonition dreams. When I was in high school, one of my cousins was pregnant with twins, and I woke up one morning, and I don't know if it's because I'm female or if it's because like this is how the premonitions have been kind of passed down. but I had a dream that I had 2 bloody handprints on my stomach. And I woke up that morning and told my mom and my grandma, and maybe about an hour later, we got a call that my cousin had had her twins that night. And there was no way that I could have known that. We weren't that close as cousins. I mean, I knew that she was pregnant with twins, but I didn't know that she was close to having them or anything like that. I've called car accidents before. I remember one of my exes, I woke up one morning and he and I were living together, and we went outside and we were talking and just had a weird feeling. And I turned to him that morning and I was like, I don't know, wonder what weird thing's going to happen today.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. I said, I wonder what bad thing was going to happen today. And that was the day that his father was killed in a motorcycle accident.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, I could call him today and he will tell you that that is what I said. I don't think that they're all bad though. Like, they certainly don't always have like bad connotations. So my favorite one, and I think that this is just the coolest one ever, about 1.5 years before I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a dream that I was pregnant, and a lot of them are pregnant dreams, but had a dream that I was pregnant, and I gave birth to a little girl with dark brown hair, and we named her Griffin. And this was never a name that we had talked about. We didn't even know if we were going to have another kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I woke up that morning and I went to my husband and said, babe, if we ever have another child and it's a little girl, I really want you to consider the name Griffin. And he's like, right, okay. So about 1.5 years later, we got pregnant, and I said, look, I know that this sounds crazy, but I really think that we should consider the name Griffin for a little girl. And he's like, well, let's just see what it is. So when we found out we were having a girl, it was like, we're naming her Griffin, right? And so that locked the name, but then when she was born, she came out with dark brown hair.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She was also born on my birthday.
There you have it. Look at that.
So that's my favorite premonition dream. I knew she was coming.
Now, have you ever had anything to where you felt it and you were just like, I've got to get a hold of this person, and like a specific person?
Yeah.
Or what?
So that mostly happens when I have dreams about people that have died.
Mm-hmm.
And I will see the person that has died, and they have, like, I've had conversations with them, but the conversation isn't for me. So probably the best example of this is different cousin, her father died. And about 8 months after he died, I had a dream, and I was not close with him. She's a cousin by marriage, and had a dream that I was talking to him, and there was, he was dressed a very specific way, and it came with like an olfactory kind of sense in the dream. So I dreamt that I like was smaller and gave him a hug, and he had overalls on, and they had like a diesel oil smell, which is not a smell that I'm accustomed to. But woke up that morning and immediately called her, and I'm like, I don't know why, but there's something that I need to explain to you this dream. I need to tell you what happened. This dream and this experience was not meant for me. It was definitely meant for you, and I don't know why, but here it is. And I just kind of laid it out for her, and it was very emotional. Mm-hmm. Just because I always feel like you're kind of gifted this message, but the emotions of the message are still there.
Right.
So, but her dad was a heavy equipment operator. And so he came home smelling like diesel oil every day. Mm-hmm. So just some things like that have definitely happened to me.
Basically, so like they'll come to you while you're asleep. They'll talk to you, and you know what's being told to you was meant for someone else, essentially. And then so you share that with them, and then they'll be like, "Oh, wow, yeah, that makes total sense," right?
Yeah. And those sorts of feelings don't always come while I'm asleep. More oftentimes, I'm not asleep, but there's definitely like those senses of dreams or things that are, you just know they're not meant for you. Like this doesn't really have anything to do with me, but it has like a sense of urgency attached to it.
Okay.
So you just kind of guide those things to where you think they go. And sometimes, usually they're right on.
Right. So that basically was kind of like the role you played with the paranormal group that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
A lot of that.
amazing. Yeah, good stuff. I wish I had those type of powers. I say powers.
It's one of those things that since I became a mom, I kind of put it aside. I just didn't invite it in as much as I did, just because I had a lot of like clouded mind. Didn't really want to invite that in. In the past like 2 years, though, I've really tried to embrace it a little bit more, listen a lot more, invite it all back in, and it feels a lot more comfortable. I just don't know that I was in the space to want that to be a part, and not that you can always shut it off,
Right.
but I think you can choose to not always listen as hard as you want, or as hard as you should.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's kind of my friend here, Vanessa, who's the 4-time author. I'm actually we'll be having them in an interview, her and her partner Gwen Clapper, in a couple weeks, and they just did a documentary over in Ireland, and but she kind of says the same thing, is that but also as she says, the older she's gotten, the more she's able to, I guess, her skills have become more honed.
Sure.
Where, like, for example, when we did an interview with her, we were getting growls one time, and we were also getting something that was coming across in Aramaic.
Okay. Oh, wow.
In the background. And she's like, I'm like, guys, do you hear this? She's like, oh yeah, I've just learned to tune it out. Because she goes, it happens to me all the time, so I'm just accustomed to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not, so while I'm interviewing her, and what was wild is because she was speaking about a greater demon experience that she had. And as soon as she did that is when we heard the voice in Aramaic and the growl. And the growl, the way some of it came across was no more. So like basically, was it telling Junior and I stop asking her questions, no more? Or was it telling her stop giving up info, no more? One of those things. And it's something that we've never really, and we used to analyze all our stuff from interviews if we'd get sound anomalies. And I actually did one video about sound anomalies, and you can hear them. We were talking about Atlantis, and it was a gurgled, almost whale sound.
Cool.
That came across, and we broke that down actually, and it was legitimate. So
that's cool.
I don't know what it said, but it was almost like on a whale, like, however they make their things while we're talking about Atlantis. So it was kind of weird. So, but yeah, so I didn't mean to get off track, but what I was trying to do is to explain it. I understand what you're saying is because the older you're going to get, the more mature in your abilities you're going to become naturally. And like you said, you can't shut it off, but you learn to tune it out.
Yeah, and I think too, like when you start to, like we were saying, acknowledge it, right? Acknowledgement of something like this, I think, goes a lot further than what I think a lot of us want to admit. Like if you acknowledge it, all right, then I'm going to open it up to it. So when you first start to acknowledge it, it's like a blender, right? So you've got everything kind of just, and you don't know how to make sense of it all. So as you start to just finally embrace it, it reverses, and everything stops being so meshed together, and it actually like starts to repiece it all together so that you can start to see, oh, this is one element of it. Oh, this is one element of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just becomes a lot easier to decide like what you want to pay attention to, what you don't want to pay attention to, what you want to focus in on. At least that's how it's been for me. And you know, just you're right. You do start. It's not even like a control thing either. Not for me, at least. It's just more of a becoming more familiar with it,
Mm-hmm.
and learning how to skill it a little bit better. So it's been interesting, and I'm kind of sad that I put it on the back burner for a while because, you know, it's like riding a bike. It's like, all right, well, I was great at riding a bike 20 years ago, and I remember how to ride a bike, but I'm a little wobbly. So getting back into the kind of groove of it has been really nice, but then you kind of have to build your endurance up a little bit more too. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what they say, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, right.
So I'm glad you didn't lose it. And I think that you're going to be able to have a much better time with it the older you become. And you'll learn to harness it and use it. And you need to keep doing it. And like I told you before, write a book. I'm working on one currently. So you know what's funny is I've actually got 2 or 3 in the works. Because I used to write a lot of like high fantasy just for myself, and I would post in forums and things like that. And a lot of people would enjoy it. And I did one that was called The 5 Kings. And it's just a story of 5 different realms, 5 different kings. And I wrote about it, and, you know, and I've even got the book partially done. But, and then I started writing my book of poetry. But a friend of mine came up to me and he's like, man, why don't you just, he goes, you're so knowledgeable in XYZ and you talk about it on your shows. He's like, why don't you just write a book that deals with everything that you discuss? He goes, start at A and then just work your way. And he goes, just start writing. And he goes, don't worry about, you know, trying to put it together. He goes, just start writing and it'll come to you. And then when you're done, you can move stuff around, piece it together. He goes, but get the thoughts out of your head onto paper. And before you know it, you're going to have a 200-300 page book. All you got to do is read, you know what I mean? And it's so easy to self-publish nowadays. Hello, Amazon, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and there is a big market for anything paranormal right now, if it's good, because Amazon does a lot overseas, and especially like in Eurasia and that area, oh, they love the paranormal. And if you have something that, you know, they haven't read about, you know, in the way that you write, you know, they're going to soak it up and get it because they're just so interested in the paranormal and things of that sort. So, and you've got a wealth of knowledge hidden in that brain of yours. So you need to unleash the beast. But,
one of these days.
One of these days. I'm going to keep pushing you every time we're together.
Okay.
Orbs. What do you think about orbs?
Love orbs. I think orbs are, I don't know if I've solidified in my mind exactly what they are, but
I don't know yet.
I don't. Yeah, but I love orbs. I love looking for them. I will certainly point them out in photographs and things like that.
Because
I think they're cool.
When orbs are around, usually you'll have a sense of something. They don't really, I've never, and I've had orbs around me and I've never been messed with or, you know, but I know they're there. I can feel there's a sense of, okay, there is something in the room.
Sure.
And 9 times out of 10, it's an orb. And so I know there has to be a difference between orb and, like, let's say an apparition.
Sure.
You know, a full-bodied apparition or even a partial apparition.
Sure.
I don't know, because I have not figured it out personally. I've read what other people have said, but like you, I don't know if you've ever tried to deduce that yourself.
I mean, I think a lot of it is, you know, kind of bursts of energy. I think that it's, and whether it's attached to a soul or not sure. Don't really care. You know, I don't really care to, you know, have that mystery solved. That's not one of the things that keeps me up at night. I just think that they're neat. I certainly acknowledge them when I see them. And I just think it's kind of one of those like little, like, here we are things.
I got,
you know,
that's cool. You know me though. I mean, I'm always like, I've got to over-examine stuff sometimes, and it's a flaw that I have, because I can't take the simple enjoyment of something. I always have to overanalyze, or there's got to be a reason, or there's something else behind it. And that's one of my flaws, where it's a gift because I do dig and I will find answers. It's also a flaw because people are like, dude, relax. No, it's just an aura.
I mean, you know, there are certainly things that I dive head into, but I just like to take orbs at a sweet, positive little, like, draw to attention, like, hey, here we are, and just leave it at that, you know.
So,
I love,
like saying, taking them at face value. We'll say, we're going to just take them at orb value.
Yeah, take them at orb value.
There we go. All right, cool. Now, have you ever experienced any type of full body apparitions, partial apparitions, where anywhere in the home where you've lived or anything like that?
Absolutely. So the house that I grew up in was very, very haunted, and not just where I saw it was a man. It was a singular man, not just to where I saw him, but my sister, my mother, my father, my grandmother. We eventually saw him so much that we had to name him, because we couldn't just call him the man anymore, because he was just around so much. So we lovingly called him Walter. And not only would you see Walter, but Walter would scare the cats. Walter would touch you. Walter would sit on your bed. We had a friend of the family that stayed over one summer, and he was probably about 16, 17 years old, right? So typical high school American boy. We had a fully finished basement, and that seemed to be where the majority of the activity was in our basement. But my bedroom was down there, and then we had like a spare guest kind of area. And I will never forget, he came into my room one night at probably 2:30 in the morning. And this is a teenage boy, shaking and crying because there was a man in the basement.
No.
And he was so convinced and had me so frightened that I actually picked up my phone and called my parents upstairs, because we thought that there was perhaps somebody in the house. And it wasn't. It was Walter.
Wow, yeah.
But it scared him that badly. And he was a very close friend of the family. He was so shaken up that he slept in bed with me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's how frightened he was. But he never did anything like menacing. Like, he never, there was never any, I think he just scared him because he didn't know what it saw, man. But my cousin Emily, when she was about 5 years old, was over for a holiday and came up from the basement and turns to a group of the adults and goes, "Who is that man in your basement?" And we were all like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "The man that's in your basement. Who is he?" And of course, all the adults go running downstairs because there's a 5-year-old saying that there's a man in the basement. There's no man in the basement. It was just
Right.
Walter.
Mhm.
But we used to see Walter all the time, and he would come upstairs and he'd be in the kitchen and he'd be in the hall. But absolutely. So, and there's certainly lots of other people's homes too that you see a silhouette or a figure or a face, and it's not scary anymore. It's just more like, how when you've got, good example of this is like when you get a mouse, right? I'm not afraid of mice, but there's something about seeing a mouse run across the floor that you're like, oh, hey, it's
Right.
just startling. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the point that I have gotten to with seeing apparitions full body or whatever. It's just kind of like, oh, hey, okay, you're there. Got it.
Yeah. I used to run, man, when I was a kid. Run like the wind. Da, da, da. I did, because I would see them all the time, and I don't know why, but like I said, I have no perception or powers or any of that. I'm just a regular Joe. But I've always, from the day when I used to deal with, and I've discussed it, and you know my take on it, and I still love you the same, but I would call it a demonic attack on me with my sleep paralysis from when I was
Right.
7 to when I was till 2004, up into 2007, when I finally was able to defeat this attachment, and it's never come again. But I've just always, since I was a child, always was able to see things that other people couldn't see, even my friends. And whereas you would see it one way, to me, it was like it was always bad or always dark or always thick or heavier. It just had an evilness to it. And not that I know, because like we say, what is evil? What is good? What is evil? It's what we make it.
Right.
But I don't know if it was the movies I was watching, or it was the stories I grew up on, or, being teased as a child by my older siblings and cousins, being locked in an old Civil War graveyard to go snipe hunting and never catch a snipe, and, sit out there alone. Oh, they kept me out. They were like, this is going to be the best place to get the snipe, because it has the wrought iron gate. We're going to open it up, and we're going
You got the pillowcase?
Yeah.
Did you have the pillowcase?
Oh, yeah. I had it there beside the oak tree, and there's all these old Civil War monuments in there. And they're like, this is the best place to be, because we're going to scatter them up out of the field. They're going to come running, and they're going to be able to catch them, because if they're in this.
Yeah, you got to catch them.
And then hour 1 goes by, hour 2 goes by.
Oh, my
3, 4.
God.
It's almost 5 in the morning, and here comes everybody laughing. They kept me out.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think I might have been 9 years old.
Oh.
And you know what? I wasn't even mad. I was depressed that I wasn't going to have my snipe. Because and everyone was in on it, because I was calling my mom, because we're on the farm for the summer. And I'm like, Mom, we can get it its own little cage, and I just got to feed it. And she's like, oh, yeah, honey, yeah. She's playing right along with them. None the wiser. So, oh, yeah, I'm making plans for it. So I think I was more down on the thing. So I don't know, it's just, how it is growing up. So
yeah,
I look back at it now, it's funny as hell. So, but to think that I and that was on 500 acres, and that's a place like the old graveyard was in the middle of nowhere on the acreage. So that's a place that, as a grown man now, I would want to steer clear of. But at 9 years old, all I could think was snipe. And now when I reflect back, it was just me out there for hours and hours.
Well, and it may not be that, the heaviness or the darkness that you feel is something that's evil. It could be, like a disruption of their energy. It could be something that that they sense, or, and who knows, because perception is always going to be a person's reality, right? Like, you've perceived it to be evil, and therefore it is evil to you. But that may not be its intent. And that's kind of how I have always carried it, is that if my perception is evil, then it's going to be evil. But if my perception is that nothing that's going to come at me is evil, it might be more confused or playful or discombobulated, then that's what it's going to be. And so I just always put that assumption out there, and I never get hurt, or I never try to get, I never really get scared, or never feel attacked. But I understand why there's a lot of people that can't do that, or don't feel that, or don't have that sort of experience. And that's, I think, why they feel like there are heavy, evil things out there. And that's okay, because it doesn't affect me.
I know. You're like, look, hey.
And that sounds so like, it sounds cocky to say that. Like,
no, I get it. I mean, that's what you do to protect yourself, and that's your prerogative.
Yeah.
Everyone reacts differently, and you and I, and when Nikki B was here, he even said, when he talked with us last time he came on, we're not going to always all see things the same way, and we're not going to always see eye to eye. But that's the great thing, is that when we can understand each other and accept each other, then, I mean, it's like me and you don't always think the same, and we go down two paths spiritually, but look where we're connected in the paranormal.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
For sure.
And I accept and love you for your other stuff, as I would expect you to say. And if more people would be open like that, I think, man, the world would be a better place.
Oh, of course. And look, my job is to not try to convince you that you're feeling the wrong way.
No, right. Yeah, yeah.
That I would never do that. Just like I would never try to convince you to, look for energy in crystals if that's not your thing, or put together pouches of spells, or if that's not your thing, that's not your thing. And it's not.
Hail Marys. I'm just kidding.
Right. But that's not. I'm not an evangelistic type person. Like, I want people to do and think and feel the way that they find to be the most comfortable and the most healing and the most helpful, but don't put those thoughts and beliefs and feelings upon me to have to subscribe to, and don't let it affect everything else that is going to affect me. So that sort of like evangelistic thing bothers me.
Right.
But as long as it's not hurting me, my God, believe in whatever you want. That's why it's like, you go, go have fun with Sasquatches, because it's a cool thing,
Well, I hope we find them. I'm going to do a show, and hopefully I can reunite with an old friend of mine. And we've always wanted to talk about giants and the Nephilim and the Rephilim. And we wanted to kind of, I know that my view is I tie Sasquatch into that. And that's just how I feel. That's just my personal beliefs.
Yeah.
And and there's a guy out in California. He's very reputable, and he has done years and years of research, and he makes some very valid points. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't discount anything, and I'm open, and I'm open to everything, and I try, because I feel like the more I know and the more that I absorb, the better I am able to understand everyone that I come in contact with. I'll know how to deal with this type of person, or what they believe in and what they believe in, because I want to know what makes a person think the way they think. Like you said that one time, show me, yes, call me on Bigfoot night. I want you to prove it to, right?
Please,
yeah.
Please. I will be a flag waving Bigfoot person if you can show me that they're there, man.
I know.
I'll be the first in line.
I am a believer already, but yeah, it's just, Oh man, that one's there's so many reasons. It's just I used to make a joke about it because they've been that show has been on TV for like 10 years, Finding
Hmm.
Bigfoot. And I'm
Yeah.
like, man, they ain't found them in 10 years. We ain't gonna ever find them. You know what I mean? Are they looking at the right places? Come on, folks. What's going on here? Show me something, you know. But
Anything. Anything.
you know, like I said before, going back, tonight was paranormal, but they, you know, they say they don't find dead gorillas, great apes, because they bury their dead. So you know, you might run across something every here and now and again, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
Same with elephants.
Elephants too.
Unless they've been, you know, mutilated for their ivory or shot, they will try to bury
Right.
their dead. So we don't know. Who knows? But man, Halloween is coming up. I love it.
Yeah.
I recorded a show a week before tonight with my good buddy Josh Morris, who just came out with his new book, and it's about paranormal and reincarnation, and
Cool.
great read. And I was on his show. We talked about Area 51, but he came on my show, and we actually talked about Halloween and how people have always said Halloween is the veil, the veil between the living and the dead is thinner. So he's very knowledgeable. He went back and we started way back and we came all the way forward. And it was a great show. And you'll have to check that one when it comes out. I'll send it to you. But
For sure.
yeah, we're trying to keep it all paranormal for the fall holidays, and with, you know, Halloween, and you know, it's that time of year. So like I always tell people, the 4th of July, summertime, to me, that's kind of like the alien time of year. You know, Independence Day, and from the movie.
Sure.
And then when we get in the fall, though, it's all the paranormal time.
Yeah. For sure. You
But
know what we should do? You know, one of those things, you know, we want to talk about conspiracy theories. One of the things that I think is kind of fun to discuss and talk about is zombies.
Oh yeah.
And the idea of like either a brain fungus or a virus or something like that. You know, or some sort of, I think that what's actually going to happen is it's going to be some sort of artificial intelligence that's going to end up creating a zombie type race in the next couple.
You know what? Wow. Yeah. I was just reading an article that somebody was writing. They were writing exactly what you're talking about. They were saying that if we're to come out with some type of neuralink that lays on our brain and that we can plug into, that's eventually somehow going to be able to get corrupted. And their theory was that that's
For sure
what could possibly create this my body's dead but my brain's still going type of thing. You know what I mean? That zombie type. So maybe, you know, have you on the conspiracy corner and let's do a zombie show.
I'm down.
You know, we
totally down.
Could do that, you know, and I'll talk to you more about that after. And what do you think, fans? I'll put a little thing up here. Would you like to see a conspiracy corner on the possibility of zombies? Dun, dun, dun. But yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
I promise if it gets enough interest, I will do some really heavy digging and come in with a really cool agenda, and we can talk zombies.
Yeah, we will. We can do that. I mean, look, we're pushing the line right now as far as we can go virtually. So we're going to see some type of implementation of implants. What's the guy that owns Tesla? His mind.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. He's the one that's coming out with the Neuralink blanket that lays across your brain.
So they already have, they're like full body suits. that plug into different parts of the brain, and they're actually used for like paraplegics.
Right.
So that virtually, like, you think about how this moves your body and it moves your body. So all of that is already there. Don't they call it like a neuro web? Isn't that what the Elon Musk thing is?
It's probably, I say Neuralink, but it may be NeuroWeb. And, but yeah.
You could be totally right on the name, but you're right. It's like a net, but I mean, if they can, I mean, you know, other than the typical stuff, you know, Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. I mean, the brain essentially will just kind of keep going as long as you're giving it oxygen and blood and, you know, nutrients and things like that. It's the body that shuts down. But I don't want to do this too much, because I want to do it in another episode.
Let's stop giving it away, because I got so many ways we can go with this.
I've got this.
And we could even talk about the zombies in Haiti and Jamaica and how they would use the powder.
Yes.
So I mean, we could touch on all levels. It would be a great one. So folks, I will put a poll up here on YouTube, and I'll put a poll on the website and the Facebook. You go and show us. Let's get some interest in that, and let's get Katie back. And we're gonna get her. Actually, it'll be her first time on the Conspiracy Corner show, because this is her second time on the big show. So we're on the Conspiracy Corner, and it'll be a whole new ball game. Welcome to my world, Katie. I'm just kidding. But anyway,
no, thank you though.
No, I had a great time with you tonight, as always. We seem to always be able to delve into it and get the points across that I want to talk about, and also we branch off and go 30 different directions. But I love that. That's what doing a podcast is all about, is having fun with the people that you enjoy doing it with. And I'll have you back a million times over, as long as we have the time for it. And if you don't have any closing thoughts, I'll wrap it up for us.
Yeah, just stay safe out there. Put out good. You're going to invite good in, and that's just be kind. Just be kind to other people.
That's right.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Be kind. Rewind. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Family Video.
Right. With that said, folks, as always, God bless. Stay safe.